Good morning, everyone. I'm trying something different, so I hope that you're doing well this week. On the road, headed out for the weekend, but I just wanted to take a moment and talk to you about the puzzle of the three forces. This is something I've been thinking about for a while now. The three forces is what we talk about in Omega. We say for every action, there's always a reaction. So science already tells us that. We already know for every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. But I want to talk about the forces on how they apply to us. So we equate the first force as an initiation force. This is when I initiate or start something. And of course, since we just started the new year, there's a lot of New Year's resolutions, and we start a diet, or we want to eat healthier, or we want to start exercising, or maybe quit smoking, or maybe that we want to, start a new job, or look for a new relationship, rekindle a relationship. So the concept is, that's my initial force. That's my first. That's what I put out. So that's called an intention. We put our intention out. And for those of us who understand what happens when we have intentions, most of the time we end up with something comes back towards us. That's the opposite force. So we want to start doing a diet, and then you get invited out to a wonderful meal, or somebody brings donuts into the office, or ice cream. You're driving past an ice cream. Whatever the case, there's always a second force that's going to challenge or stop us from wanting to initiate our force, continuing on our force. It's always there. It's almost like we created it. Now, the key is, if my initiating force is not strong enough or not supported by strength, I'm going to fall under by the second force. How many times have we started a diet and only to just give up, or started an exercise routine only to just give up? It's that second force that challenges us, and if our willpower is not strong enough, the second force will win. I like to use the illustration of an airplane. When an airplane takes off, the jet engines are pushing from behind, and so it pushes us forward. So when that jet engine is pushing us forward, it's heading into the wind. Now, for those of you who understand flying, you take off into the wind because you're using the wind for lift. However, the way that the aircraft is designed, the wings are tipped just a little bit forward. They're tipped just a little bit forward so that when it hits that wind, you have lift. If the wings were tipped down and you hit that wind, the wind hits it, it's going to push the craft down. So the same is true for our intentions. When I start out and I'm prepared for the second force, I can use that second force to succeed. If I'm not prepared for the second force, then that second force is going to push me down. I will not succeed. The concept is, we have to be able to be aware that there's going to be a second force. Now, we all know this. Most everybody understands this. I'm always going to be challenged by something that's going to impede my progress. Now, the third force, we introduced first force, second force. The third force is the force, that moment when the two forces meet. That's the third force. It either goes up or it goes down. So here's my first force, here's my second force, and when they meet, if I'm prepared, I'm going to go up. If I'm not prepared, I'm going to go down. This is the third force right here. Now, how do I prepare to ensure that this third force gives me a success? Willpower. It all comes down to how much willpower I've obtained. Now, willpower, this is a topic that I know is a big topic, and I'll actually get into it next week a little bit more. But willpower, if you think about this, it's like a muscle. Everyone has muscles. You all understand muscles. willpower has to be developed. It's like a muscle on the ethereal level. I can't touch it, but I understand what willpower is. Some of us have strong, solid willpower, and some of us have willpower that's pretty much like a leaf in the wind. That's our willpower. In order for us to succeed in the first force, second force, third force puzzle, I must develop a strong willpower. And when you begin to develop your strong willpower, it's not about, doing the largest thing you can do. Obviously, when you're about to start exercising, you put on your sneakers, you walk out the door. You don't run 10 miles on the first day. You take it slow and you build it up. You get your muscles involved and tone them and become strength. It's strength building. Well, the same is true of our willpower. We have to build our willpower, build it up, build it up, build it up, so that when we launch our initiation, we are able to hit that second force and use the second force for lift. And that's what I was thinking about today as I'm headed off to do an initiation right now. I know initiation sounds a little odd, but I'm initiating an action. That's what we're doing. So when we initiate, that's our first force. Life is going to give us second force. It's going to come back and handle the second force to prevent us from succeeding. And what I eventually want to do is to develop a strong willpower to excel and use the second force. I'm going to back up for a second. It's not like life is coming back to prevent us from succeeding. It's just that feeling of when you start something, there's always going to be an equal and opposite stopping. So we're always going to have that hitting to each other. Therefore, and we tend to think, oh, life doesn't want me to do that. That's not it. It's just the way life, it's a balance. I don't know the scientific terms for it. I do know that whenever we start something, we always have that equal and opposite force. And to use that third force, that moment that we come together, I have to develop a strong will. I'm going to talk about that next Friday on what are the things that we can do to develop our strong will. But this would be good for us to consider thinking about what are the things that we start, why don't we accomplish, and how can we prepare ourselves for the second force. So thank you all for joining me today for our coffee talk. Have a wonderful weekend, and I look forward to seeing you on Monday when we're going to discuss the third core value that we discuss in Omega. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye now.